right,
Hi.
you guys are ready?
Hold on, hold on.
Hold on.
Go.
Hi, my name is Miles Patel.
I am Nico Pastalopoulos. I am Andrew Turk.
I'm Austin Gibbs.
I'm Kayla Robinson, and we are Fix It Quick. So a couple years ago, in my old house, we were getting our basement floor redone. And so my mom hired this company to come in and fix it, and in the end, the job was a complete disaster. There was paint all over the floor, and it was peeling up the wrong color, and all in all, it was just a completely botched and incomplete job. And so my mom went to this company to try to get them to come back and fix their very obvious mistakes. And not only did the company refuse to come back, but they also demanded that my mom pay them anyway. And so after months of arguing with this company, trying to get them to just come back and finish the job, my mom eventually had to go to court and actually have a judge rule in her favor that she shouldn't have to pay the company. And of course she won the court case because she was right. But this is where the heart of our problem lies. Too many homeowners are getting ripped off for jobs that are either incomplete or not done correctly, and they spend months trying to argue this, and usually it's to no avail. And so this is why we have Fix It Quick. Fix It Quick is a home repair service that connects reliable, certified freelance workers with homeowners in need of household repairs. And on our website, we can connect homeowners to freelance workers to get jobs done correctly. And this is our demo, and Drew will be taking you through it now.
So this is what our website will look like. This is the home page. Welcome to Fix It Quick. Here you see what sets us apart. This would be what the customer sees. We have the escrow, we have the zero tolerance reviews, we have the competitive bidding, we have explanations, which we will get into later. And then we have the customer or review page. So here you can choose if you're a worker, you can choose if you're a customer. So we chose we are a customer. This is where you will land. The services, you can choose different types of categories for jobs. You have plumbing, electrical, etc. Anything that you can pretty much need. So here you have your name, your email, subject, message, pretty much just whatever job you would have you'd be in need of. On the worker's side, you can hit browse. You have the same list of categories, you have the same list of jobs, plumbing, heating, whatever you need. And here you have your license verification. You have to put your name, email, subject, message, whatever you work on, what your expertises are, etc. And then so if your expertise is in plumbing, there are different categories. You can have different available jobs. You can see for the broken water heater, it's in South Barrington, roughly estimated about $200-ish, certain amount of hours, and what the materials would cost for that job. And now here is the bidding. These two workers are bidding against each other for lower prices to do the job. This shows that this would make a fair price for the customer, and the workers would bid lower and lower against each other to establish a fair price for the customer.
And with our website, we are hoping to target all homeowners, ideally people who are 50 plus years old, working full-time, parents with full-time jobs, or single parents. And this is just because these people are more likely to spend time out of the home and not have as much time to go and spend the time finding reliable workers in the area. And we're also gearing our business towards people with houses of 3,000 square feet or more, because bigger houses generally have more appliances and therefore need more household repairs per year.
Our three main competitors are local contractors, Angie's List, and Home Advisor. All of these have no to very poor background checks, all of which are very time consuming and not trustworthy in its own way. Through local contractors, oftentimes are priced inaccurately. Through Angie's List, oftentimes workers can pay to be higher on the search result page. And Home Advisor has had over 1,200 customer complaints and sent a convicted felon on supervised probation to a customer's house. What sets us apart from other companies is our zero tolerance policy, which ensures that any worker with bad reviews is removed from our site. Competitive bidding allows a competitive atmosphere so that the workers can competitively bid with the lowest price. An escrow holds the money in a third-party account to ensure that the job is done correctly. And the negative approval after the job is completed is an additional 3 days, so that the homeowner has the time to look at or revise if the job is done successful.
And so with our pricing, we found on census.gov that the average home repair cost with labor and materials is $500. And so we're going to implement a 10% markup. And the reason we got this number is because through our surveys, we originally had 15%, but then they said that was too high, so we then lowered it to 10%. So this will give us an average revenue per unit of $50. As I said, our revenue per unit is $50, and so our cost of goods sold would be $1.10. This would cover our escrow fees, giving us a 97.8% gross profit margin. So our serviceable adjustable market for our first year would be Barrington area. So this would include South Barrington, North Barrington, Lake Barrington, Downtown Barrington, and through a website called info.usa, we figured out that there was roughly 10,000 homes in this area. And so through our surveys again, we figured out that an average home goes through 4 household repairs a year. And so when trying to calculate our serviceable adjustable market, we got it up to $2 million. And so the way we figured this out was 10,000 homes in Barrington, times 4 home repairs a year, times $50 per job. So this guy's $2 million. And so we believe we could get 3% of that for our first year. And this is a low number due to the fact that we are new to this industry and that we're not that big of a name. We're not a big name yet, like our other competitors. And so this would equate to our first year revenue being $60,000. So our market size, as I said, our gross profit would be $58,000. Our number of units sold would be 1,200 for the first year. And then this would have our SG&A costs being $3,532, which would cover our umbrella insurance and our escrow fees.
So we will be conducting a Wizard of Oz MVP, where what you see isn't always what you get. So we won't actually have a website. Instead, we'll be doing a lot of the functions manually. So we will have a landing page, and customers can go there and they can look at a bit about our company, and then they can also subscribe to our mailing list. If they do have an immediate home repair, we'll also have their contact information, and they can reach out to us. In place of the escrow, we'll be doing that manually, so we'll have the customer transfer the payment to us, and we'll hold the money until the job is complete. In place of the competitive bidding, we'll be going to a number of workers and pricing the job to make sure that the customer gets the best price. And then in place of the zero tolerance review policy, we'll be reviewing the customer after the job and making sure they're satisfied. If not, we'll take further action. So the way the MVP would work is first we'd advertise through one of our many channels, and once we find a customer, we would find out what the repair is and we'd match them up with the worker. And then we would have the customer transfer the payment to us, and we would hold it in escrow, and then the worker could then go and complete the job, and then we would pay them 3 days after for the negative approval, and we would review them to make sure they're satisfied. So the 2 parts of our business model that we're testing are customer relations and our escrow. We would be testing our customer relations through Google AdWords. We want to make sure that's a good way to reach our target market, and then we're also testing our escrow through LegalZoom. We want to make sure that we can write up a contract that both the worker and the customer will adhere to. For LegalZoom, we're allocating $210, and that would be for 6 months of legal help to write out the contract. And then for Google AdWords, we're allocating $200 for 2 months, so a total of $400, and that would get us between 23 to 40 clicks per month on our landing page. So we're also advertising a number of other free ways. The first 2 are the Daily Herald and Quintessential Barrington. We're currently talking to the editors about writing a piece in their neighborhood section, where at the bottom we would put a QR code or the address of our landing page. And then we're also going to be creating a Facebook account and advertising through that. According to PEW, 68% of adult Americans use Facebook daily. So we think that'll be a great way to reach out to our target market. And we're also going to be using groups such as the Barrington Mamas, which is a group comprised of moms in Barrington. So we're going to be targeting groups like that. And then we've also talked to Ace Hardware about putting half-sheet flyers by the registers. That way we can reach out to workers, and we'd have contact information or the address of our landing page at the bottom. And then lastly, we're going to be putting free ads on Craigslist, so just posting jobs. So our measurement of success would be, for Google AdWords, we want to have a 25% conversion rate into paying customers. And if we were to reach that goal, that would give us around 10 jobs. And our timeline for those 10 jobs would be 2 months, so February 9th to April 9th. And within those 2 months, we want to be running the ads on Google AdWords and then also getting help from LegalZoom. If we were to reach that goal of 10 jobs with that average revenue per unit of $50, we would make $500. So our asking number of $610 really isn't that much because we'd be making back the majority of that. And what goes into that $610 is the $210 from LegalZoom and then the $400 from Google AdWords. Tell us about any home repairs, because we're here to fix it quick. Thank you.
I don't know of any,
Go ahead and ask, do the questions, I'll take care of it.
I don't know of any worker that would go anywhere for $50. I think that's grossly underestimated.
So the $50 is actually, we're charging a 10% add-on, so they'd be making what they usually would. We'd just be charging a 10% of what the bid would be.
I'm just saying, a plumber wouldn't come to anybody's house for $50.
They're not.
No,
That's
it's
not
not.
what I'm
It's
saying. The $50 is what they're making.
Oh,
The
okay.
plumber's getting whatever he's gonna get. He quotes out the job and then here's that.
So
your
yeah,
500 is
he
what
would give us a number and then plus the materials and
500 isn't it?
yeah, we'd
So,
take 10.
yeah, I need the explanation again. So when you define a unit for me, in your world, a unit is $50, so that is just your margin?
Yeah, so that's what we'd be making. So we estimate that the average job cost with materials and labor, $500, and then we'd be charging an additional 10%. So it'd
Okay.
equal $550.
Hey, Miles, just so you know, I gave you extra points for talking right through this.
I mean, seriously,
Thank you.
that was lots of disruptions you guys made it through.
So I understand the solution is, it's a complicated solution because it's any two-sided business model, especially when there's technology in the middle, there's some complexity there. And I understand the problem that we're looking to avoid of having to, go back and fight over whether a job got botched or not. What did we do to, in terms of customer interviews? Who did we talk to validate whether they would be comfortable using a piece of a website to find service providers? And then even more, I'm interested in the service providers themselves. How many freelancers are there? How many people are willing to kind of participate in this like Uber model for their services?
How are you attracting the workers? I mean, they're just gonna know this website and go on it and say, hey, I'm looking for work, so.
So my dad's actually in the house building industry, so through him I already have contacts to a lot of workers. So I would start out by reaching out to them, and then through Ace Hardware and Craigslist, we would also reach out to additional workers. Another way he reaches out to workers is just like if you see job sites, if you see like the trucks, a lot of those workers will actually do side jobs. So we'd market to them that way too.
But how many did you talk to? Carlos had a good question there. How many, for that side of the business, for your pool, you're gonna need to seed a pool of potential job fillers. How many did you talk to potentially? What'd you learn?
5%, not too many. It was
Yeah.
more, we only really talked to homeowners for the first part, so that's something we need to really do is talk to more freelance workers to see if they're attracted to this.
The key here is that they're both your customers. Right? It's not just the homeowners, but the folks looking for jobs are also your customer.
And when you start to do that investigation and talk with them, you're asking them a different set of questions and risk that's involved. Can you fill that side of your business? And then the homeowners, it's kind of a different side. And so I do have a question on the homeowner side for how you're going to and what you're asking dollars to do is for Google AdWords. So it seems, and I liked all your free choices, by the way. I mean, I think you're exploring that really nicely to try to see. But for Google AdWords, it's going to be like Uber local focused for that.
Yeah, so you can actually choose like the areas you want to market to. So we'd just be choosing like within the Barrington area and maybe like Schaumburg, like some of the other closer
Okay.
towns.
And you're going to hopefully test then the response you get from Google AdWords interest versus being on Fox Point's, job, whatever, neighborhood watch board and whatever, things like that and all of the other, okay. Because that's gonna be what you want to be able to share, is the best way for us to get the people who needed jobs done was this, and be able to share that.
So a question about the market. You guys haven't had the experience of calling up plumbers or carpenters or electricians, what have you, but every time I call one, they don't know what the scope of the work is until they come to the house. So tell me a little bit about how you thought about that problem.
So for our MVP, we're just going to be having them send us some pictures, and we're going to try and manage without having someone look at it first. But for the actual business, we were exploring having like a coder go look at it first, and then specify what the job is, what the parts are needed, and then that way they would know what the job actually is. So we're still kind of figuring out how to fit that into our business.
I'll ask some questions on the LegalZoom investment that's needed. Do you need to spend the money to actually test that by having a business subscription to LegalZoom versus using all the free services and contract examples that you can also find online and working with to do these draft contracts to understand how both sides of your market are going to respond to that?
Let me hijack that. What's the basic, what are you trying to test with spending the money on LegalZoom again?
So for LegalZoom, we want to write up a contract first for the escrow, and then also for liability issues if someone were to get hurt on the job. We just want to write up like that we're not liable, and that way we're covered legally.
Essentially like an umbrella insurance
You have to,
for all types of liability.
any contract is gonna have to have a workers' comp and an insurance.
We would also,
We're gonna have to show you.
in our MVP, we're going to be looking for workers with workers' comp. That way we avoid legal issues with
And
insurance.
liability insurance. So the legal part is an escrow agreement
And then also liability.
Why can't we just, why don't you guys just act as the intermediary but don't get involved in touching money? Fulfill more of the brokering function where you're, hey, I've got my water heater is busted or something. And then you go out, quote the job out, and then come back to the customer, these are the quotes, who do you want to interact with? And then they go and they handle it themselves, and you stay out of the touching the money, because it just seems like that's
Well, we actually found two problems with that. One was from the workers, where people can just say that the job wasn't done correctly and then they won't pay them. Or the customers pay the workers ahead of time and the workers don't complete the jobs, and then it's too late for the customers to get their money back. And so that's why we implemented the escrow in the first place.
And a lot of times you have to end up going to court like Kaylee's mom and arguing for them to come back and fix it.
Yeah, you think about that, you're gonna be getting involved in I would guess some percentage of jobs get argued, and you're gonna be winding up right in the middle of that. You're holding on to both people's money, the people that did the job and people who had the job done, and
1 minute.
that's gonna be something he may be going for.
I don't know, I would honestly suggest just in the spirit of a minimum viable product, I would suggest punting on the escrow solution. We're going to solve that at some point when you have kind of critical mass, but I think it's probably more important to establish whether you have enough jobs and job seekers that will come on the platform. So can we get creative about how we can do that, especially on the job seeker side, in the next 30 seconds? How can we find job seekers, freelancers?
So just trying to freelance. So as you said, we're just gonna advertise through Craigslist, right? Craigslist. Ace Hardware. Miles, your father.
Yeah, my dad also is in contact with like hundreds of workers just because he builds houses. So
we're gonna conduct probably surveys on them. That's something that we definitely need to do. and see if they're interested in the document.
And so I think that you'd be bringing a lot of value to your final business case if you tell us how many you actually were able to get. Then what's the profile of them? Because are they the insured, when you go and post this at Ace Hardware and you get a number of seekers to sign up, can they have proof of insurance and all of this? You might have a lot of people in the gig economy who don't have all that. So, okay, great, we were able to attain this many job seekers that fit the qualifications we would need. And then how many were you able to, in fact, match that had the time available and could, fulfill a job that was required and needed. Like, I think that's gonna, like to Carlos's point, that right there, just brokering that and understanding that you can get there would be huge. And I just think you need to rethink part of this legal test. I think there was maybe a MVP to what you're trying to test on that piece. I think we're gonna have a hard time funding that component, because I'm not sure the risk involved in some of the liability pieces too.
Last comment. Whatever that was.
Well, how much money would you need to assemble a list of tradesmen and a list of people who need odd jobs done around the house?
I think we could just take out the LegalZoom and then just, with the AdWords with the $400, I think that would be enough. We could run the AdWords and then we could also use the free tactics, and we could gear some of the AdWords towards workers, so we could be marketing to them that way.
It's not a bad idea. Yep, okay,
All right, let's do that.
let's do that, all right?
All right.
All right.